Luigi Conti was not a man who shared, not his empire, not his time, and definitely not the woman whose soft laugh had just been stolen by another man's face on her phone screen. The office was too quiet for his liking. Luigi Conti could hear everything from his glass-walled corner room. Keyboards, the low murmur of voices in the main area, the occasional ring of a phone, and then there was the sound that had been driving him crazy all week, a soft vibration, then another, then another. He didn't even need to look up to know where it came from. Melissa Davis's desk. She sat right outside his office, the first line of defense between him and the rest of the world. Every visitor passed through her, every phone call, every document, every calendar change. He relied on her more than he admitted, even to himself. But lately, Melissa was also the source of something he was not used to handling, a constant pull. Again, he muttered, glancing at the frosted glass where her silhouette moved. She was on her phone. He could see her head tilt down, fingers moving fast, shoulders bouncing once in a silent laugh. He hated how his chest tightened at that. It was none of his business. She could talk to whoever she wanted. She could text whoever she wanted. She was his employee. He was her boss, that was all. Another soft laugh reached him through the half-open door. His jaw flexed. He pressed the intercom button on his desk. "Melissa," he said. Her chair squeaked as she straightened. "Yes, Mr. Conti?" "Step in," he replied. She walked in with her tablet against her chest and a pen behind her ear. Her phone stayed on her desk, screen down, like she was trying to pretend it didn't exist. Melissa wore a simple white blouse tucked into a black pencil skirt. Nothing was flashy, but nothing about her ever felt simple to him. The blouse hugged her in a way that made it hard for him to look away. Her dark hair was up in a loose bun, a few strands escaping around her face. Her eyes, that soft, warm brown, always seemed a little too honest for his world. "Yes?" she asked, closing the door behind her. Luigi leaned back in his chair. "You rescheduled the meeting with Mason for tomorrow?" "Yes, 11 a.m., she answered right away. "You have 30 minutes free now, and then a conference call with Chicago at 3. "And the contracts from Lawson & Price?" "On your desk." She nodded toward the neat stack he hadn't touched yet. "Red tabs are signatures, blue tabs are notes." Of course they were. She was efficient, organized, and always 10 steps ahead of everyone else. So why did it bother him so much that, in between all of that, someone out there still had enough of her attention to make her smile like that? He watched her for a second longer than needed. Melissa shifted, tightening her grip on the tablet. "Is there anything else you need, sir?" The "sir" dug into him. He was used to it from everyone. From her, it felt like a wall. He almost said no. Almost let her walk out and go back to whatever conversation had lit her face up like that. Instead, he heard himself say, "You've been on your phone a lot this week." Her eyebrows lifted. "Excuse me?" He folded his hands over his chest. "I notice everything in this office. You know that." Color rose in her cheeks. "I've done all my work." "I didn't say you haven't." "Then what's the problem?" she asked, a little defensive now. There it was again. That spark. He felt it every time she pushed back, even when she tried to hide it. Most people never looked him in the eye. Melissa did. Every day. He should not like that as much as he did. "This is a business," he said evenly. "Not a social club." Her jaw clenched for a moment. He saw the way she swallowed whatever she wanted to say and switched to something more polite. "Understood," she replied. "I'll be more careful." She turned to leave. "Melissa." She paused with her hand on the doorknob. "If there's something urgent," he said, the words coming out slower, heavier. "You can let me know." She inhaled, kept her back to him for a second, then turned halfway, enough that he could see her profile. "It's personal," she said softly, "but it's handled. It won't interfere with work." "Personal." That one word slid under his skin like a knife. He nodded once. "Good." She left the office, closing the door behind her. He stared at the glass again. Her silhouette sat, the shape of her head tilted down. Another soft vibration. He pressed his lips together. He tried to focus on the contracts, on numbers, on names, on anything but the image in his head of Melissa smiling at someone else's words. It worked for about 7 minutes. Then fate gave him something he should have ignored. A coffee run. "I'm going down to the lobby to grab coffee," she said, poking her head into his office. "Do you want your usual?" He looked up. "Black, no sugar." She smiled. "I know." Of course she did. He watched her walk away, her heels clicking on the hardwood, the sway of her skirt distracting enough to make him forget what was in his hand, until he heard it. Buzz, buzz. His eyes shot to her desk. Her phone lay there, screen up this time, lighting up with each vibration. From his angle, he could only see a sliver of the screen through the open door. He didn't move. He should not move. He told himself that twice. Then the phone buzzed again, more insistent, and a small preview banner slid across the top. He stood. By the time he reached the door, he had convinced himself he was only going to close it. For privacy, for noise, for any excuse that sounded less insane than the truth. He stepped out. Her phone buzzed again. He stopped right beside her desk. A new message appeared. His eyes caught it before he could look away. "Andrew, you sure you're okay? Call me if you get a break." A profile photo sat above the name. A man, early 30s maybe, with a confident smile and light stubble. Blue eyes, great hair, perfect teeth. The kind of guy women on the street turned to look at. The kind of guy who didn't belong anywhere near Melissa's screen. Luigi's chest went hot. Andrew. A little stethoscope emoji next to his name. The kind of detail you didn't give to a random contact. Another message appeared. "Andrew, I can come by later if you want. You don't have to deal with this alone." His hand curled into a fist by his side. Deal with what? Why was this man offering to come by? Why was Melissa not dealing with something alone? And why the hell had Luigi not known a single thing about it? He sucked in a slow breath through his nose. He knew he should step back into his office. He knew he should respect her privacy, pretend he had not seen anything, let it go. Instead, he leaned forward just enough to see the rest of the chat. Long rows of messages, check-ins, little jokes. A photo of a coffee cup she had apparently sent earlier with the words, "I'm running on caffeine and stress." A laugh emoji from him, a winking face from her. His jealousy shot through the roof. "Mr. Conti?" Her voice cut through the air like a spotlight. He straightened at once. Melissa stood by the elevator, holding a tray with 2 coffees and a small paper bag. She froze when she saw where he was standing. Her eyes dropped to her phone, still glowing on the desk between them. For a split second, fear flashed across her face. Then she masked it with something else. Calm, neutral, professional. But he had already seen the first reaction. He stepped back from her desk, his expression hard. "You left your phone out," he said. "I was just gone for a minute," she answered, walking over quickly and setting the tray down. Her fingers flew to lock the screen and flip the phone over. "The building is secure." "That's not the point." She met his eyes. "Then what is?" He didn't answer right away. He could tell her the truth, that he was jealous, that the thought of some other man coming by later made him angry in ways he did not recognize in himself, that he hated that she was sharing pieces of her day, her stress, her coffee photos with someone else instead of him. He didn't say any of that. Instead, he walked back into his office, leaving the door open halfway, and sat at his desk with more force than needed. "From now on," he said, loud enough for her to hear, "no personal phones on the main desk during office hours." There was a pause. "Including mine?" she asked carefully. He almost smiled at that. She always noticed the small double standards. "Yes, including yours," he replied. He heard her exhale. "Understood," she said. The rest of the afternoon dragged. He called her in for every small thing. A report, a correction, a schedule change. He watched the way she kept glancing at her bag where he knew her phone now was. Her fingers would hover near it, then pull back. Her lips pressed together like she wanted to check but refused to break the new rule he had just invented. At one point he caught himself staring at the door, hoping she would walk in on her own. Just to talk. About what? He had no idea. He was losing his mind. Around 6, most of the staff started leaving. Elevators chimed. Chairs rolled back. The office lights dimmed row by row as people clocked out. Melissa was still at her desk. She always stayed until he left. He knew that. He also knew she looked tired. There were light shadows under her eyes he hadn't seen a few weeks ago. Her shoulders were a little more tense. Her smile, when someone joked with her, didn't reach her eyes the way it used to. It bothered him. He finished typing an email, hit send, and stood. "Melissa," he called. She popped up in her chair. "Yes?" "Come in." She grabbed her notebook and walked in, closing the door behind her. "You can go home," he said. "We're done for the day." She blinked, surprised. "Are you sure? You still have—" "I said we're done." She studied him for a moment. "Okay." He watched her, the way she clutched the notebook to her chest like a small shield, the way her eyes seemed to be searching his face for something. "Is everything okay?" she asked quietly. He frowned. Why wouldn't it be? "You've been—" She hesitated. "Different. Today. This week." He didn't answer. "Did I do something wrong?" she added, and there was something in her voice that punched straight through his chest. "No," he said, harsher than he meant to. "You haven't." She flinched a little at his tone. He exhaled, trying again. "You're good at what you do," he said. "The best assistant I've had." A small, shy smile touched her lips. "Thank you." He cleared his throat. "Just remember, this is a high-level office. People watch. They talk. I don't want anyone thinking you're distracted." "I'm not," she said, more firmly this time. "I promise you. Whatever is going on in my personal life, it stays outside those doors." Outside those doors. He hated that line. That border he hadn't crossed but was standing right next to. "Good," he replied. She nodded and turned to leave. "Melissa." She looked back. "If something serious is happening," he said, choosing each word slowly, "I need to know, not as your boss, as the person responsible for you while you're under this roof." Her eyes softened. "For me or for the company?" she asked. He held her gaze. "Both." There was a long pause. "I'm handling it," she said gently. "And I don't want to be a burden." "Not to you." He hated that word even more than personal. "You are not a burden," he snapped. Her lips parted in surprise. Silence stretched. He looked away first. "You can go." She left without another word, closing the door behind her. This time, he watched her all the way to the elevator. She grabbed her bag, her coat, and disappeared behind the metal doors with a soft chime. For a full minute, he just stood there in his office, the city lights flickering beyond the glass, his own reflection staring back at him. Hard jaw, tense shoulders, eyes darker than usual. He went back to his desk and sat down. He should go home. He had a penthouse waiting, a view of the city, a glass of expensive whiskey with his name on it. Instead, he pulled open the bottom drawer of his desk and took out a slim black device he rarely used himself but had ordered for his security team. A small phone, linked to the building's internal system. He scrolled through the logs from the front desk cameras, the hallway, the lobby, the elevator. He watched Melissa walk out of the building, her coat pulled tight around her, her bag on her shoulder. On the footage, he saw her step out onto the sidewalk, take a few steps away from the main doors, and then stop. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. The screen glowed against her face. She smiled. His stomach twisted. She typed something, thumbs moving fast. A moment later, she lifted the phone to her ear, listening, nodding to words he could not hear. On screen, he saw her say something softly, then laugh, her head tilting back a little. Jealousy hit him like a punch. He turned off the screen. For a few seconds, he just sat there, breathing in and out, his hand clenched around the small device. Then he opened his laptop, pulled it closer, and clicked into a blank search bar. He typed slowly, hearing each letter echo in his mind. Andrew. He hesitated, then added the last name he had caught on the preview banner without meaning to. Andrew Cole. He hit enter. The results loaded in seconds. Luigi leaned forward, eyes narrowing as a row of images and links filled the screen. A familiar face appeared at the top of the page. The same confident smile, the same blue eyes, a title under his name. His heart slammed once, hard. A doctor, a specialist. Connected to something Melissa had never told him about. He stared at the screen, feeling a strange mix of anger, worry, and something that felt a lot like fear. Who was this man to Melissa? What was she not dealing with alone? And why did Luigi, a Mafia boss used to knowing everything, suddenly feel like he was the last person in her life to find out? He closed the laptop slowly, his mind already racing ahead. Tomorrow, he decided, he was going to get answers. Whether Melissa liked it or not. Luigi Conti arrived earlier than usual the next morning. He didn't sleep much. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that man's face again. Andrew Cole. Perfect smile. Doctor. Helpful. Present. Everything Luigi wasn't supposed to care about. He was in his office by 6:40 a.m., suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up, staring at the city waking up below. The building lights flicked on one by one, like quiet reminders that life moved on whether he wanted it to or not. But the only thing he cared about this morning was the sound of soft footsteps he knew by heart. At 7:01 a.m., right on time, Melissa walked in. "Good morning, Mr. Conti," she said, her voice softer than usual, like she was still half asleep. She wore a pale blue blouse today, tucked neatly into black trousers. Her hair was down, brushing her shoulders, making her look different, more open somehow, more delicate. Or maybe he was just seeing her differently because of last night. "Morning," he replied. Her desk was spotless. She placed her bag beside her chair, pulled out her tablet, and then paused. Her fingers hovered over her phone before she slipped it deep inside her drawer. She was obeying his ridiculous new rule. He felt victorious and guilty. He pretended to read a document just so she wouldn't notice he had been watching. "Your coffee, sir," she said, carrying a steaming cup into his office just as she always did. But when she set it down, she didn't leave right away. Her hands clasped in front of her. "About yesterday." He didn't lift his eyes. "We don't need to discuss it. I just don't want you to think I'm careless." "I don't," he said too quickly. She blinked, surprised by the speed of his answer. Luigi cleared his throat. "You're efficient, focused, reliable. That hasn't changed." She exhaled, the tension in her shoulders loosening. "Thank you." But as she turned to leave, her phone buzzed faintly from inside her drawer. She froze. He froze. And something inside him snapped again. "Melissa." She turned slowly. "Yes?" "You can check it," he said tightly. "I'm not unreasonable." Her lips parted in surprise. "I'll check it on my break." He almost growled. Her break? What break? What was she trying to hide now? "Close the door," he said. She obeyed, stepping back inside his office. He didn't mean to sound harsh, but the words came out sharper than expected. "You're distracted again." "Only for a second," she whispered. "It won't happen again." "Melissa." He closed the folder in front of him. "Look at me." She did, and he immediately regretted asking. Her eyes were warm, tired, sincere. It made him want to drag her closer until nothing about her felt distant anymore. But he didn't move. "I need to know if your personal situation is going to interfere with your work," he said, keeping his tone neutral. "It won't." "And this man?" he added quietly. Her cheeks heated. "Andrew." He hated how gently she said his name. "Yes," he replied. "He's just helping with something." "Something," he repeated. "Something. Something." Why did that word feel like it held her entire heart inside it? She nodded without giving more details. A lie by omission. He recognized it instantly. He'd used it his whole life. "I'm fine," she added, forcing a little smile. Really? He didn't believe her, but he also couldn't push harder. Not yet. not without admitting that he had broken his own rules and looked at her private messages. So he changed the subject. "We have a long day ahead," he said. "I'll need you for late work tonight." Her eyebrows rose. "Late work? I thought everything for today was manageable. I added new tasks." "Oh." She nodded politely. "Of course, sir." He almost told her the truth, that he just wanted her near him, where he could keep an eye on her, where her attention wouldn't drift toward a screen glowing with someone else's concern. Instead, he dismissed her with a controlled, "You may go." She left the office, but the energy between them remained. By 5 p.m., the office was half empty. By 7, only 2 people remained: Luigi, Melissa. She had removed her heels hours ago, walking around in soft black flats, trying to hide the little groans of exhaustion when she bent down to file something. He leaned back in his chair more than once just to watch her walk. Every time her drawer buzzed, she'd stiffen. Around 7:40 p.m., she finally rubbed her forehead and sighed. "I made the update you asked for," she said, entering his office. "Is there anything else you need before I go?" "Go?" His chest tightened. "You're leaving? It's getting late and I—" Her phone buzzed loudly this time. She froze. Luigi's eyes drifted toward her drawer. "Melissa," he said, standing slowly. "Answer it." Her eyes widened. "What?" "Take it out," he repeated. "Look at it." She hesitated, then walked to her desk and opened the drawer. The screen lit up. His blood ran hot. "Andrew. Thinking of you. Did you eat?" A heart. A yellow heart, but still a heart. Melissa's breath caught. Her finger hovered over the screen like she didn't know what to do. "Melissa," Luigi said, stepping behind her before he could stop himself. "Is he your boyfriend?" She froze. Absolutely froze. "What? No." Her cheeks flamed red. "No, he's not. He's not my boyfriend." "Then what is he?" he asked, voice lower, rougher. "Because he's sending hearts and offering to come see you and checking on you every hour." She turned to face him, shocked by how close he stood. Her back was inches from her chair. His body blocked the light behind him. His presence was overwhelming, warm, tall, impossibly intense. "Why do you care?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Because every answer he had was too dangerous, too honest, too personal. Instead, he asked, "Is he the reason you look tired lately?" She blinked fast, the confidence shaking in her eyes. "It's complicated." Complicated. He hated that word, too. He stepped closer. Her breath hitched. "Melissa," he murmured, "you don't have to hide everything from me." "I'm not hiding," she whispered back, though her voice trembled. I don't want you to think less of me." His chest tightened painfully. "Impossible." Her lips parted. His gaze dropped to them for one forbidden second. Then, her phone buzzed again. They both looked down. "Andrew, I'm outside. Call me." "Outside? Outside the building?" Luigi's heart stopped. "Is he picking you up?" he asked, voice suddenly sharp. "No," she said quickly. "No, he wasn't supposed to. He just shows up sometimes when—" "When what?" he demanded. Her silence was answer enough. He grabbed his jacket off the back of his chair and walked toward the elevator. "Where are you going?" she asked, rushing after him. "To make sure the front of my building is safe." "For me," she whispered. He didn't deny it. The lobby was quiet except for the guard at the reception desk. A tall man stood by the glass doors, phone in hand, pacing slowly. Andrew Cole. Luigi knew immediately. The same face from the messages. The same annoyingly perfect posture. The type of man who fit clean white rooms and soft lighting. Not the world Luigi lived in. Melissa rushed up behind Luigi, breathless. "Andrew, what are you doing here?" she asked. The man turned. His face lit up with clear, relieved concern. "I was worried," Andrew said, stepping closer. "You weren't answering. I thought something happened." Luigi stepped slightly in front of Melissa without thinking. Andrew blinked. "And you are—" Luigi's voice was calm. Too calm. He wasn't calm at all. "I'm her employer." Andrew offered a polite smile. "Right." Of course, I didn't mean to interrupt her workday. I just came to check on her. She was working late, Luigi replied. At my request. Melissa touched Luigi's arm lightly, a small, instinctive gesture telling him to stop, calm down, breathe. It didn't calm him. It made everything worse. I'm fine, she told Andrew. Really, you didn't need to come. You look exhausted, Andrew said softly. Your dad asked me to make sure. Andrew! She hissed under her breath, eyes widening. Luigi froze. Her dad? Something clicked inside him, something big, something he didn't understand yet. Andrew realized he had said too much and immediately corrected himself. I just meant, never mind. Are you ready to go home? Melissa looked at Luigi, like she was asking permission, like she needed his answer before she could give one to Andrew. His jaw locked. He wanted to say no. He wanted to say stay. He wanted to say too many things a boss shouldn't say. Instead, he forced out, she's done for the night. Melissa swallowed hard. I'll text you later, Andrew. Thank you for coming. Andrew nodded respectfully, but Luigi caught the way the man looked at her. Protective, caring, familiar. It made something primal flare hot in his chest. Andrew left through the glass doors, disappearing into the night. Silence wrapped around them. Melissa turned to Luigi. You didn't have to come downstairs, she said softly. I did, he replied simply. Why? His answer came out raw. Because I needed to know who he is to you. Her breath trembled. I told you, he's not my boyfriend. That's not enough. She stared at him, eyes shining with confusion, longing, and a hint of fear. Why do you care so much? She whispered again. He stepped closer. His voice dropped. Because I do. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. Her heartbeat seemed to echo through the quiet lobby. Then she whispered, Luigi, what are we doing? He didn't know. He only knew this wasn't ending here. Not tonight. Not until he understood everything she was hiding. And not until she answered the question burning inside him. Who exactly was she keeping him away from? Andrew Cole? Or herself? The tension from the lobby didn't disappear overnight. It traveled with Luigi and Melissa into the next day, lingering in every glance, every half-finished sentence, every moment when their eyes met, and one of them looked away too fast. Nothing between them was normal anymore. Nothing was simple. And that was before the email about the party. By mid-morning, a notification popped up on Luigi's screen from his operations director. Reminder, client appreciation reception tonight. Conti Enterprises, partners, attendance strongly recommended. Luigi cursed under his breath. He hated those things. Handshakes, fake smiles, the endless small talk. But they were necessary. They kept deals smooth, partners happy, and suspicion low. He pressed the intercom. Melissa. Her voice came through immediately. Yes, Mr. Conti? Come in. She entered a few seconds later, tablet in hand, hair in a loose ponytail that made her look even younger, softer. Too soft for his world. You saw the email about tonight? He asked. Yes. She tapped quickly on her tablet. 7 p.m. Private lounge at the Astoria Hotel. Guest list already confirmed. You're speaking briefly after the welcome toast. He grunted. You're coming. She blinked. Me? You're my assistant. I usually just coordinate from the office, she said gently, or from home. I don't need to be at the venue. I want you there, he replied, tone leaving no room for argument. Her lips parted like she wanted to question that, but something in his expression stopped her. Okay, she said softly. I'll be there. As she turned to leave, he added, Dress accordingly. It's formal. She nodded once, but he didn't miss the faint flush on her cheeks as she closed the door. He sat back in his chair, annoyed at himself. He could have told one of the other assistants to go. He could have kept her away from free drinks, curious eyes, and men who might be too friendly for his liking. Instead, he had just ordered her into the exact situation that would light his jealousy on fire. Maybe he wanted to see what would happen. Maybe a part of him wanted to know if she was his weakness, or his. The Astoria Hotel glowed that night. The private lounge they had rented was all soft golden lights, dark wood, velvet chairs, and a wide view of the city shimmering beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. Background music hummed, low jazz, expensive and tasteful. Luigi arrived first in a perfectly tailored black suit. White shirt open at the collar. No tie. He didn't like anything around his throat. He liked to breathe. His security team scattered into their positions, blending in with the crowd as it trickled in. Clients, partners. A few wives, a few husbands, a few people trying too hard to look important. He shook hands, smiled his controlled half-smile, let people talk more than he did. But every minute that passed, he was aware of one thing. She wasn't there yet. He checked his watch. 7:13 p.m. Late. For someone else it would be nothing. For Melissa, who lived by schedules and reminders and color-coded calendars, 7 minutes off felt like an eternity. He was about to text her when the room went quiet for him all at once. She walked in. Melissa paused by the entrance, handing her coat to a staff member. For a moment she seemed unaware of just how many heads turned in her direction. Her hair was loose, cascading over her shoulders in soft waves. She wore a black dress, not too short, not too long, fitted at the waist and ending just above her knees. The neckline was modest, but the way the fabric shaped her body made his mouth dry. Simple silver earrings, a delicate bracelet, no complicated jewelry. She didn't need it. Luigi felt something inside him clench. She was beautiful every day, but tonight she looked like every woman in the room wished they were her, and every man wished he could be the one she was walking toward. Except she wasn't walking toward anyone. She stood there for a second, taking everything in, the slightest hint of nerves in the way she smoothed her hands down the sides of her dress. Then her eyes found him. He watched as her shoulders relaxed just enough. She headed his way, weaving through the crowd, offering polite smiles when people greeted her. "Mr. Conti," she said when she reached him, a little breathless. "I'm sorry I'm late. The cab took forever." "You look—" He stopped himself just in time before saying what he really thought. "Perfect. Dangerous. Mine. Appropriate," he finished, a little more gruffly than planned. Her lips twitched, amused. "Thank you, I think." His operations director walked up, saving him from his own thoughts. "Luigi, the Harpers just arrived, and Lawson's team is in the back. We're ready when you are." "Fine," Luigi nodded. Then to Melissa, "Stay close, I'll need you." "Of course," she replied. As the first rounds of drinks circulated, Melissa slipped into her role effortlessly. She moved beside him with quiet efficiency, whispering names in his ear when someone approached. "That's Mark Lawson. You met him 3 months ago. His wife's name is Anna. They just had a baby boy. That's Daniel Harper. You don't like him. You called him loud." Her soft commentary made him huff out a quiet laugh more than once, but it also did something else, brought them dangerously close. Every time she leaned in to speak, he caught the scent of her perfume. A light, warm scent, something with vanilla and something he couldn't name. Her body brushed his sleeve. Her fingers occasionally grazed his hand when she passed him a glass or a folder. His focus split between business and the woman whose presence had become its own kind of gravity. He noticed other men noticing her. Lawson's assistant, Harper himself, 2 younger consultants whispering and glancing her way. He hated every second of it. Near the middle of the night, after his brief speech and too many small conversations, Melissa slipped away to the side of the room. He watched her go. She stood near a tall plant by the windows, one hand on the cool glass as she looked out at the city, the other holding her clutch. The music was still low, but from where she stood, the voices blurred into a background hum. Luigi let another man finish telling a long story he barely heard, nodded at the right moments, then excused himself. He crossed the room slowly, like he wasn't in a hurry. Inside, he was. He reached her just as she took a small step to the side, as if making room for someone else. Someone who wasn't there. "Tired?" he asked. She jumped slightly, then smiled. "I'm fine. Just needed a minute away from all the networking." "You handled it well." "Thank you," she said. "You did too. You almost smiled 3 times. He snorted quietly. Your sense of humor is getting bold. It's late. I get reckless after 9 p.m. He looked at her profile in the dim light. The city lights reflected in her eyes, making them softer, deeper. Are you enjoying yourself at all? He asked. She shrugged. The food is good. The view is amazing. You only glared at me twice, so, not terrible. I didn't glare, he protested. You did, she said, amused. Every time someone stared at me for too long. He paused. They were staring. I'm in a dress and heels in a room full of suits, she said. People stare. They shouldn't. She turned to face him fully now. Are you jealous, Mr. Conti? He held her gaze. Maybe I am. The air between them thickened. Her joking expression faltered, replaced by something more fragile, more real. Luigi, she said softly. Her phone vibrated in her clutch. She tensed. He felt his mood shift from warm to cold in one heartbeat. Is that him? He asked. She looked away. This is not the time. It's him, he said, voice lower. Isn't it? She sighed, clearly torn. I just need to make sure everything's okay. She stepped away, moving toward a quieter hallway that led to a set of private restrooms and a smaller conference room. He followed. The hallway was dim, quieter, the music muffled behind them. Melissa stopped near a closed door, pulled out her phone, and checked the screen. Luigi saw the name from where he stood. Andrew. He clenched his jaw. She put the phone to her ear, turning slightly away from him as the call connected. Hey, she said softly. I can't talk for long. I'm at a work event. There was a pause as she listened. Luigi stepped closer, stopping just behind her. He didn't mean to eavesdrop. He told himself he just wanted to make sure nothing was wrong. But her next words cut like a blade anyway. I'm okay, I promise, she murmured. Don't worry so much. You're going to give yourself a heart attack before any of us. He heard a faint male voice on the other end. Couldn't make out the words, but the tone was gentle, familiar, too familiar. Her shoulders softened. I know, she whispered. I wish I could be there tonight too. Luigi's chest tightened painfully. Wish I could be there tonight too. It's just complicated, she went on. But I'm handling it, okay? You've already done so much for us. For him. I can't keep leaning on you every time I get scared. His mind snagged on one word. Us. For him. Who was him? Her father? Someone else? He stepped even closer without realizing, his presence wrapping around her. She stiffened when she felt him behind her, then quickly finished the call. I have to go, she said into the phone. Text me if anything changes. Please. Another pause. I know, she whispered. I love you too. Luigi froze. She ended the call. For a second, neither of them moved. Then she turned slowly, expecting space and finding the solid warmth of him instead. They were too close. Her back almost brushed the wall. His suit jacket nearly touched her dress. The hallway felt narrow, the air stolen from her lungs. Melissa, he said, voice quiet but intense. Who is he? She swallowed. You heard that? You said us. His eyes searched hers. You said forum, and you said... She closed her eyes briefly. Luigi, please. You said you love him. Her eyes snapped open. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is, he said, stepping even closer. Because right now all I see is a man who calls you every hour, checks on you constantly, shows up at my building, and gets to hear words from you I have never heard. Her cheeks flushed. You're my boss. You're not supposed to hear that from me. Maybe I want to. He shot back. Silence dropped between them like a weight. She stared at him, chest rising and falling. He stared back, the control he lived by slipping inch by inch. Luigi, she whispered, you have no right to be jealous. I know, he replied. But you are, she said. I am, he admitted. The honesty hung there, raw and dangerous. Her hand tightened around her phone. You're crossing lines. You cross them first, he said, his voice low. The moment you walked into my life and made it impossible to see this office as just a place of work. Her eyes shone. That wasn't my intention. I know, he said. You didn't plan it. I didn't plan it. Yet here we are. She tried to step sideways to create space, but he raised a hand, bracing it on the wall beside her instead, not trapping her, but not letting her run away either. Tell me who he is to you, he said, softer now, and I'll decide what to do with the jealousy afterward. She laughed once, but it was humorless. That's not how emotions work. For me it is, he said. I need facts. I need clarity. That's how I keep control. And if the facts hurt, she asked quietly, then they hurt. Her eyes searched his. You won't like it, she whispered. Try me. Her lips trembled. Andrew is important. The word burned. He's been there for me through the worst of it, she continued. He's helped my family more than I can explain. He calls because he worries. I say I love him because I do. His hand on the wall curled into a fist. He felt something in him break apart. Is he in love with you? Luigi asked. She hesitated. Yes, she said finally. At least I think he is. His chest went cold. And you? He forced out. Are you in love with him? Her eyes filled with tears. She blinked away before they could fall. It's not that simple, she said, voice shaking. My heart is a mess right now. Everything is a mess. My dad is sick. My brother is struggling. I'm working long hours. I'm trying not to fall apart. Your dad is sick? He cut in, the puzzle pieces suddenly shifting. She went still. He saw it in her eyes. The thing she had been trying to keep outside those office doors had just stepped right in. It doesn't matter, she said quickly. You don't need to worry about it. You already have enough on your plate. You decide what I need now? He replied, anger and concern mixing. You've been going through all of this and you didn't say a word. It's not your job to take care of my life, she said. You're my boss. I'm also a man who... He stopped himself just in time. Who what? Who thinks about you at 3 a.m? Who hates that someone else has seen you break when I haven't? Who feels like he's losing a fight he didn't know he was in? She stepped aside, trying to move past him. He shifted, blocking her. Let me go back inside, she whispered. Please. No, he said. She bristled. You're not my keeper. He leaned closer, and his voice dropped to a low, rough murmur. Then stop acting like I don't care. Her breath hitched. For a moment, nothing else existed. No music, no clients, no hotel, no doctor watching his phone waiting for her message. Just them. Her back brushed the wall, her body heat mixing with his. She looked up at him, eyes wide, lips parted. Luigi, she murmured. What are you doing? The truth slipped out before he could stop it. Losing control around you, he said. His hand lifted, almost of its own will, fingers brushing a strand of hair from her face. He let his knuckles graze her cheek, slow, reverent, like he had been waiting months for that one small touch. She closed her eyes for a second, leaning into it. Tell me to stop, he whispered. She didn't. Instead, when she opened her eyes, she looked straight into his and whispered, If I tell you to stop, will you listen? He exhaled, his forehead resting lightly against hers. Yes, he said honestly, but I'll hate it. Her lips curled in the tiniest, heartbreaking smile. I don't want to be a problem in your life, she said. You have enough enemies. You are not a problem, he replied. You're the only thing lately that feels like... He caught himself again, biting back the word right. His gaze fell to her mouth. Her gaze dropped to his. Slowly, so slowly, he tilted his head. The distance between them shrank to nothing. Her fingers, still clutching her phone, brushed his chest like she needed something solid to hold on to as the world shifted beneath her feet. He could feel her breath against his lips. Warm, unsteady. It would be so easy. 1 inch, 1 second, one choice. Someone knocked on the door at the end of the hallway. Mr. Conti? A voice called. They're asking for you for the group photo." The moment shattered. Melissa pulled back fast, eyes wide, cheeks burning. She stepped sideways out of the cage of his arm like she had just escaped a storm she wasn't sure she wanted to leave. He straightened, jaw tight, eyes suddenly dark and guarded again. "I'm coming," he called out, his voice controlled as if nothing had happened. The staff member disappeared around the corner. Luigi turned back to Melissa. "We're not done," he said quietly. Her hand shook slightly around her phone. "I don't know how to handle any of this." "You won't have to," he replied. "I'll handle it." "That's not fair," she whispered. "This isn't just business, Luigi. It's my heart, my family, my life." "I know," he said, "which is exactly why I'm not leaving it in the hands of a man I know nothing about." He stepped back, putting a small, necessary distance between them. "Go back in," he told her. "Smile. Do your job. Pretend everything is normal." "And you?" she asked. He adjusted his cuffs, his expression smoothing into the cool mask the world knew. "I'm going to find out exactly who Andrew Cole is," he said, "and what he really wants from you." Her eyes widened. "Luigi." He turned toward the main room, his voice low but firm. "If I'm going to lose control," he said, more to himself than to her, "I'm not doing it blind." He walked away before she could stop him, each step a promise he wasn't sure how to keep. Behind him, in the quiet hallway with the city lights pouring in, Melissa leaned back against the wall, pressing a hand over her racing heart. She had no idea which terrified her more, the man who loved her voice on the phone, or the Mafia boss who almost kissed her in the dark and was now determined to dig up every secret she had left. And somewhere between those two men, she knew one truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Sooner or later, she would have to choose. Luigi didn't sleep, not a minute. Not after the almost kiss in the hotel hallway. Not after watching Melissa force a smile during the group photo. Not after noticing the way she kept rubbing her wrist like her nerves were fraying from the inside out. He replayed every detail as he paced through his penthouse, the city lights flickering behind him. Her whisper, her trembling breath, her saying, "I love you," to another man. And then, "Andrew is important. He's helped my family. My dad is sick," pieces he should never have learned in a corridor outside a bathroom door. But the detail that kept him awake was the one she refused to clarify. "Are you in love with him?" Her silence had been louder than any answer, so when dawn broke over Manhattan, Luigi was not calm, not composed, not the unshakable Mafia boss people feared. He was a man who felt like he stood too close to losing something he had never properly held. By 7 a.m., he had made a decision. If Melissa wouldn't tell him the truth, he would find it himself. Melissa arrived at 8:59 a.m., 1 minute before time. She was never late. She walked into the office with a strained smile, her hair pinned up, her dress modest, professional, almost like she was trying to rebuild a wall between them. "Good morning," she said softly. "Morning," he replied, his voice cooler than he intended. They worked in silence for the first part of the day. She kept her phone buried in her bag, refusing to check it. He pretended not to watch her every time she shifted in her seat. The tension was thick enough to cut. At 11:15 a.m., he stood abruptly. "Melissa, my office." She followed, notebook in hand. He closed the door behind her. "Sit." She did, crossing her legs, folding her hands together tightly. She knew something heavy was coming. Luigi remained standing, arms crossed, eyes locked on her. "Last night," he began, "you told me pieces of the truth, but not all of it." She stiffened. "Your father," he continued, "he's sick." Her eyes flickered downward. "Yes." "And this man, Andrew, he's involved." She looked away. "Involved how?" "That's what I'm asking you." She inhaled slowly. "He's my father's doctor." The words landed like a punch. Doctor. That explained the stethoscope emoji. That explained his worry, his constant messages, his presence. But not everything. Luigi took a step closer. "Why didn't you tell me any of this sooner?" "Because it's my family," she said, voice trembling. my responsibility. And I didn't want you to think I couldn't handle my job. You think so little of me? He asked. No, she breathed. I think too much of you. That sentence nearly broke him. She continued. You run an empire. You make decisions that affect hundreds of people. You don't need my personal problems on top of that. Melissa, he said, sitting slowly on the edge of his desk, leaning forward. I take care of my people. Her eyes lifted, soft and wounded. I'm not sure I'm allowed to be one of your people. You already are. Her breath caught. The truth hung between them again, heavy and impossible. But she looked away first. There's more, she whispered, about my father. I know, he said, voice low. I looked into Andrew Cole. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. You what? He didn't flinch. I needed clarity. Luigi, that's a violation of what? He cut in. Your privacy? Yes. He stood again, hands clasped behind his back. You are hiding something that affects you, affects your life, affects your heart, and you expect me to sit quietly while you break down in silence? I'm not breaking down. You are, he said calmly. You're just pretending you're not. She stood too now, chest rising and falling. Her voice dropped low. You had no right, and you gave me no choice. They stared at each other, both stubborn, both hurting. Finally, she whispered, What did you find? His expression softened, not with pity, but with something deeper. Your father's medical records, he said. Appointment logs, treatment schedules, billing issues. She blinked fast, tears gathering. You saw all that? Yes, he admitted. And I saw that Andrew isn't just a doctor. He's someone who's been taking care of your family in ways most doctors wouldn't. A tear slipped down her cheek. He visits your father at home, Luigi continued. He adjusted his shifts to be available on nights your brother couldn't be there. He waived fees when insurance stalled. Melissa covered her mouth with her hand as if trying to hold in a sob. He's been a lifeline, Luigi said quietly. I saw that. She looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and pain. Then why did you assume he was more? Because I'm in love with you. He couldn't say it. Instead, he said, You told him you loved him. Luigi, she whispered, shaking her head. It's not romantic. He's like family now. I love him because he saved my father, because he gave me hope, not because I'm in love with him. He felt the air return to his lungs. And he's in love with you, Luigi said gently. She hesitated. Maybe. I don't know. He's never said it. Has he tried anything? No, she said instantly. He's professional and kind, and he cares about my family. That's all. Silence settled around them. Then she whispered, Do you believe me now? He did. More than he wanted to admit. Yes, he said. She exhaled shakily, wiping her cheeks. Then please, don't make this harder. My life is already messy. He moved closer, slow and cautious, like approaching a wounded creature he desperately wanted to protect. You don't have to carry this alone anymore, he murmured. I do, she argued. This is my burden, not yours. He cupped her chin gently, his thumb brushing away a tear. It became mine, he said, voice deep and warm, the moment I stopped seeing you as just my assistant. Her breath hitched. She leaned into his touch, barely, but enough for him to feel it. Then, another tear. Her body sagged a little. He guided her to the couch in his office without thinking, sitting beside her as she finally let the truth spill out. My dad's condition worsened 2 months ago, she confessed. Andrew said he'll need a surgery soon, expensive, complicated. My insurance only covers part of it. I've been saving every cent I can, working late, doing freelance work at night. I'm exhausted, Luigi. I'm terrified. And I didn't want you to see me fall apart. Her voice cracked on the last words. Luigi felt something twist painfully inside him. She wasn't fragile. She wasn't weak. She was fighting a battle alone because she thought she had to be strong for everyone else. Melissa, he murmured, his hand sliding to her shoulder, warm and steady. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't want to disappoint you." He closed his eyes for a second, fighting the urge to pull her into his arms and never let go. "You could never disappoint me." Her fingers curled into his sleeve. For the first time, she didn't hide her trembling. For the first time, she let him see her vulnerable. And for the first time, he allowed himself to touch her without restraint. He drew her gently into his chest. She didn't resist, didn't argue, didn't pretend. She melted into him, head resting against his shirt, her breath uneven as she cried quietly. His arms wrapped around her, protective and firm. He whispered against her hair, "You're not alone anymore." She clung to him, really clung, like someone holding on after treading water too long. They stayed like that until her breathing steadied. She pulled away slightly, wiping her face. "I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry." "Don't apologize," he said softly. "Ever." "Not to me." Her cheeks flushed, but then her expression changed. Tension returned. Fear. "What happens now?" she whispered. Luigi's gaze was steady, certain. "Now," he said, "I help you." "No," she said quickly. "You can't." "I can," he corrected. "And I will." She stood abruptly. "Luigi, I don't want charity. I don't want to feel like I owe you." He rose too, facing her. "This isn't charity. This is me caring about someone who matters." Her lips parted. He stepped closer. "You matter to me," he said quietly. "More than I should admit." She swallowed hard. "You're crossing lines again." He shook his head. "No," he whispered. "I'm drawing new ones." Her breath caught, but before either could say another word, her phone buzzed loudly in her bag. Both of them froze. She pulled it out with trembling hands. "Andrew, call me as soon as possible. It's urgent." Her face drained of color. "Oh no." Luigi stepped closer, tension slicing through him. "What happened?" She looked up, eyes wide and fearful. "It's my dad," she whispered. "Something's wrong." The room seemed to still around them, and Luigi Conti knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't letting her face this alone. The room froze around them. Melissa stood in the center of Luigi's office, fingers trembling around her phone, eyes wide and glossy with panic. Luigi had seen men break, he had seen people lie, he had seen fear in 1,000 forms. But nothing tore at him like this fear on her face. "What happened?" he asked, already grabbing his jacket. I don't know," she whispered, voice cracking. "Andrew says it's urgent. My dad, something's not right. I need to go." "Then we go," Luigi said immediately. "We?" she echoed. "Yes," he replied, tone flat, final, unshakable. "You shouldn't face this alone." "But your meetings, your schedule?" "Cancel everything," he said over his shoulder to no one, because right now the only thing that mattered was getting her to her father. "But Luigi, you're my boss. You don't have to—" "I'm not leaving you to handle this alone," he repeated, slower this time, deeper. "Not tonight, not ever again." Her lower lip trembled. Something in her expression, the exhaustion, the fear, the gratitude, hit him harder than any confession ever could. Within minutes they were inside his black SUV, the city lights blurring past as his driver cut through traffic with surgical precision. Melissa sat beside him in the back seat, clutching her phone between both hands. She kept checking the screen even though no new message had appeared. Her breathing was uneven. Too fast. Luigi noticed. He shifted closer, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. "You're safe," he murmured. "Whatever happens, I'm here." She didn't look at him. If she did, she might completely collapse, but her voice was a whisper. "Thank you." 2 small words, but they hit him like a vow. When they arrived at the modest apartment building 10 minutes later, Melissa bolted out of the SUV. Luigi followed immediately, staying close but letting her move ahead. Inside the small second-floor apartment, Andrew Cole was waiting. He stood up from the couch as soon as Melissa walked in. "Melissa," he said gently, "I'm glad you're here." She rushed past him toward the bedroom door. Is he okay? What happened? He was fine last night. He joked with me on the phone. Melissa, breathe. Andrew said softly. Your dad's stable. His blood pressure spiked. He's resting now. She sagged against the door frame, a quiet sob escaping. Andrew put a hand on her shoulder. Luigi's jaw flexed. Andrew noticed it, because a doctor noticed everything, and dropped his hand respectfully. Mr. Conti, he said politely. I assume you came with her. Luigi simply nodded. I don't want to intrude on your work, Andrew added. I'm grateful she has support. Melissa shot a quick glance toward Luigi, as if hoping he wouldn't misinterpret anything. He did, but differently now. The jealousy didn't claw through him like before. Not after hearing Andrew say your father is stable. Not after watching Melissa break down in the SUV and whisper thank you, like he was the only person in the world who made her feel safe. Still, he kept his distance from Andrew. You said his pressure spiked, Luigi said calmly. What caused it? Andrew hesitated, like he wasn't sure how much to reveal. Then Melissa stepped in. Tell him, please. Andrew nodded. Stress, fatigue, and the medication delay from last week didn't help. She winced. I'm so sorry. I tried to get there on time, but work has been… No. Andrew interrupted quickly. This isn't your fault. You're doing everything you can. You need help, Melissa. You can't carry all of this by yourself. She closed her eyes, chest tightening. I've been saying the same thing, Luigi said quietly. Melissa opened her eyes, stunned by the softness in his voice. This wasn't the jealous boss from the party. This was a man who meant every word. Andrew studied them for a moment. Really studied. Then he exhaled slowly. I'll give you two some time. He stepped into the bedroom, closing the door lightly to check on her father again. When they were alone, Melissa sank onto the small couch, burying her face in her hands. Luigi sat beside her, not close enough to overwhelm her, but close enough that if she tilted an inch, she'd fall into him. I feel like I'm failing him, she whispered. I'm trying so hard, Luigi. I can't lose him. You won't, he said softly. You don't know that, she whispered, tears falling. Everything is falling apart. My dad needs surgery. My brother can barely keep his job. I'm working nonstop, and I've been so afraid of telling you because I thought you'd see me as a burden, or weak. And I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't lose my job, too. Melissa. He reached out and took her hand. She let him. Her fingers were cold and trembling. You're not losing anything, he said. Not your job, not my respect, and not me. Her breath caught. I shouldn't depend on you, she whispered. But you do, he said softly. And I'm glad you finally let yourself. She closed her eyes, letting his words sink into the places she'd kept locked for too long. Andrew returned a few minutes later. He's asleep, he said. He'll be okay overnight. But Melissa, tomorrow, we need to finalize the plan for the surgery. Time is running out. She nodded weakly. I understand. Andrew hesitated, then glanced between them. You're not alone, he said to her gently. Not anymore. Her eyes flickered to Luigi. And for the first time since they'd arrived, something unspoken passed between the three of them. Andrew saw it. Luigi felt it. Melissa pretended she didn't. I should go, Andrew said, grabbing his coat. Call me if anything changes. Thank you, Melissa whispered. He gave Luigi a respectful nod before leaving. The apartment fell silent again. Melissa stared at the closed door for a long moment, then turned toward Luigi, exhausted, vulnerable, and achingly honest. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Why are you here? He leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees. Because I couldn't stand the thought of you crying alone. Her eyes filled again, not with fear this time, but something warm, fragile, dangerous. Luigi, she whispered. He moved closer, just a breath away now. Melissa, he murmured. I need to know something, and I want the truth this time. She didn't move, didn't blink. His voice lowered. When you said I love you to Andrew, was that the way a woman loves a man? She shook her head instantly, tears slipping down. No. It was the way a daughter loves the person saving her father. He exhaled shakily, relief hitting him in a slow wave he didn't bother to hide. Then answer me this, he whispered. Is there someone else you are in love with? Her breath halted. A silent, trembling heartbeat passed. She looked at him, really looked, and he felt it everywhere. I can't, she whispered. I can't think about that right now. That's not a no. It's not a yes either, she whispered back. Then what is it? He asked, leaning closer, voice barely audible. It's me being afraid, she said, of wanting something I shouldn't want. He touched her chin gently, guiding her eyes back up to his. You want me. She closed her eyes, tears falling silently. And I want you, he said quietly, more than I want my next breath. Her lips parted on a soft sound that wasn't quite a sob nor a gasp. He brushed his thumb beneath her eye, wiping away a tear. I can't kiss you right now, he whispered. Not while your heart is breaking. Not while tonight feels so heavy. She nodded, trembling. But don't think for a second, he murmured, that I don't want to. Her breath shivered. Luigi, she whispered, leaning forward instinctively, wanting warmth, wanting comfort, wanting him. He pulled her into his chest, not a heated embrace, but a slow, protective one. Her hands clutched his shirt. His chin rested gently atop her head. You're not alone anymore, he whispered again. And this time she didn't argue. She melted into him completely. They stayed like that while the clock ticked quietly, until her tears dried, until her breathing steadied, until he felt her relax for the first time in weeks. Then, finally, she pulled back. I should check on him, she whispered. I'll go with you. No, she said softly. Stay here, just for a minute. I need to think. He nodded once, letting her go. She slipped into the bedroom. Luigi exhaled. His hands still smelled faintly of her perfume. His shirt held the shape of her cheek. His pulse still throbbed with the echo of almost confessions. He had crossed a line tonight. She had crossed it too, and tomorrow would change everything. But as he sat in the dim living room of her small apartment, waiting for her like a man who had nowhere else he wanted to be, one truth weighed heavily in his chest. He wasn't afraid of wanting her anymore, only of losing her before he could show her what she truly meant. When she returned, her expression had changed again. Not broken, not crying, determined. Luigi, she said softly, we need to talk. He stood slowly, pulse steadying into something expectant, charged. She swallowed hard. There's something you don't know, Melissa said. Something I've been hiding. He stepped closer, ready for anything, except what she whispered next, and the truth that would turn everything upside down. There's something you don't know, Melissa said. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the silence like a sharp line. Luigi straightened slowly in the small living room, every muscle awake. Something I've been hiding, she added. He had dealt with secrets his entire life. People hid money, lies, mistakes. This was different. This was her. And he already knew whatever she was about to say would land straight in his chest. He kept his tone calm. Then tell me. She glanced toward the bedroom where her father slept, then back at him. Her eyes were shiny but steady now, like she had finally reached the point where she could no longer carry everything alone. Not here, she whispered. I don't want him to hear anything if he wakes up. Luigi nodded. Come to the kitchen, she said. It wasn't really a kitchen. It was a narrow space with old cabinets, a small table pushed against the wall, and a coffee maker that had definitely lived a few lives. Still, it was hers. It smelled like coffee and vanilla and the faint lemon of cleaning spray. She sat at the small table. He took the chair opposite her, knees almost touching under the wood. For a moment she didn't speak. She twisted a napkin between her fingers, shredding it slowly. "Whatever it is," he said, "I'd rather hear it from you than from a stranger. Don't filter it for me." "That's the problem," she replied. "I've been filtering everything around you since the beginning." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She inhaled, then let the words come out before she could stop herself. "I was planning to quit." The air left his lungs. His back went rigid. "When?" "In a few weeks," she said, eyes dropping to the shredded napkin. "After I saved a little more. After I was sure my dad's surgery would be scheduled, I told myself I would finish everything at the office neatly, train someone, leave on good terms, and disappear before you noticed too much." He stared at her. He had expected many things. This wasn't one of them. "You were going to disappear?" he repeated slowly. Her eyes filled again. "Yes. Without talking to me, without giving me a chance to help, or a chance to—" He stopped himself before finishing the sentence. "Or a chance to love you the way you deserve." "I didn't want you to feel obligated," she said quickly. "I didn't want you to think I was staying to take advantage of you. I didn't want you to see me as someone who stayed because she needed something." He let out a quiet, humorless breath. "Newsflash, Melissa. You already need something, and you already stayed." She almost smiled, but it died before it could fully form. She pushed her phone across the table toward him. On the screen, there was a draft email. Subject line, resignation. Melissa Davis. Date, 1 week from now. "You wrote this already," he said. "Yes." His eyes scanned the text, short, respectful, cold. "Thank you for the opportunity. I'm grateful for my time at Conti Enterprises. I need to attend to personal matters and will not be able to continue." "You were really going to send this?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. If you hadn't found out what was going on, I would have." He looked up, his gaze burning. "Why?" he asked. "Tell me the real reason, not the polite one." She swallowed hard. "Because I was falling in love with my boss while my life was falling apart," she confessed, voice barely above a breath. "And that felt like the worst timing in the world." The words hung there. He blinked once, twice. He had been waiting for some version of that truth. Hearing it out loud hit him differently than he'd imagined. "You were going to walk away from your job," he said slowly, "and from me, because of your feelings?" "Yes." Her fingers shook now. "Because I didn't want you to feel trapped. I didn't want you to feel responsible for me. I didn't want this to turn into some messy story where people say, 'Of course she stayed. Look at who her boss is.'" He closed his eyes for a brief second. "You think that little of me?" he asked quietly. "No," she replied immediately. "That's the problem. I think too much of you. That's exactly why I couldn't let my feelings ruin your life." His jaw clenched. He leaned forward, forearms on the table, their hands only inches apart. "You weren't ruining my life," he said low. "You were becoming the only part of it that felt worth anything." Her breath hitched. She stared at him, stunned, like no part of her had been ready to hear that. "I'm not saying this because I feel sorry for you," he continued. "I'm not saying it because your father is sick, or because tonight was intense, or because I'm tired and emotional." He held her gaze, steady and firm. "I'm saying this because every time you smile at someone else, I feel it. Because every time you talk to him—" He nodded at her phone. "I have to fight the instinct to pull you away. Because every time you walk away from my office, I want to call you back for no reason." Her lips parted. "And because the idea of you quitting," he finished, voice tightening, "physically hurts." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I told myself if I left, it would be easier for you," she whispered, "that you'd just hire someone else and move on." "I don't want someone else," he said. Her heart thudded hard. "You don't get it," she whispered. You're strong, in control, always composed. I'm just a woman trying to keep her father alive and pay her bills and not fall apart in front of the man she cut herself off, pressing her lips together. The man she what?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "Don't make me say it again." I want to hear it again. Her cheeks flushed. I can't, she whispered, because if I say it again, I won't want to let go, and I might have to one day. He shook his head. I'm not planning on letting you go, he said. Not as my assistant, and definitely not as the woman who makes me lose control at every hallway, every elevator, every time you say my name. His hand moved, slow and deliberate, until his fingers rested over hers on the table. She didn't pull back. Her voice was hoarse. What about the surgery? The money? My dad's future? This isn't just about feelings, Luigi. I know, he said. He squeezed her hand. That's why I'm going to handle that part. Her eyes widened. No, she said instantly. Absolutely not. I told you. I don't want your charity. I don't want to be another person on your list of people you have to fix. This isn't charity, he said. Then what is it? She demanded, voice rising. Tell me exactly what you think this is. His answer came fast. It's love. Silence. Real silence now. Even the distant sounds from the street outside seemed to fade. She stared at him, stunned. You don't have to say it back, he said, reading the shock on her face. You don't have to decide anything tonight. You don't have to agree to anything. He squeezed her fingers again. But I'm not going to pretend anymore that this is just about an employee who needs a loan, he continued. It's not. I care about your father because he's your father. I care about that surgery because it's your life. I care about that doctor because he has something I want. Your trust. Her chin trembled. You already have my trust, she whispered. That's why this is so scary. His thumb traced a slow line over her knuckles. Then let me prove that you're right to trust me, he murmured. Let me be there for you in every way you'll allow. As your boss, as your support system, as the man who loves you. You can draw the lines. I'll respect them. But don't shut me out and walk away thinking it will make my life easier. She swallowed. You say that like I'm important. You are. He said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Tears spilled now, freely, no longer hidden. Luigi, she whispered, if you help with the surgery, how could I ever repay you? The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. You can't, he said softly, and I don't want you to. She almost laughed through her tears. That's not fair. Fine, he replied. We'll call it a loan. She frowned. With what interest? His smile deepened, warm and just a little teasing. Interest paid in time, he said. In you not running away from me. In you letting me take you out for dinner somewhere that isn't a hotel lounge filled with clients. She let out a shaky breath that turned into a quiet laugh. You're negotiating terms now? She asked. I'm very good with contracts, he said, eyes soft. But if you want something official, I'll have my lawyers draw something up tomorrow. Non-refundable emotional investment agreement. She laughed again, hand flying to her mouth. The sound was small, but it was real, and it lit something inside him. Is that your way of asking me on a date? She asked. Yes, he said simply. It is. Her eyes glistened. In the middle of a crisis? Exactly in the middle of a crisis, he replied. Because I'm tired of pretending we're just boss and assistant, and you're tired of pretending you're fine when you're not. Her shoulders relaxed. She stared at their joined hands on the table. You can't fix everything, she whispered. I know, he said, but I can fix this part. The money, the hospital, the logistics, that's what I'm good at. He leaned forward, his voice dropping. And the part I'm learning to be good at is being the man you can lean on without feeling like you owe him anything. She was quiet for a long time. Then finally, she nodded. Talk to Andrew, she said. Ask him what we need for the surgery, the real numbers, the real deadlines. No sugarcoating. I will, Luigi replied. And you'll let me pay back whatever you put in? She added quickly. He pressed his lips together. We'll negotiate later. Luigi, she insisted. He sighed. Fine, you can pay me back by not sending that resignation email. She stared at him. That's really what you want? She asked. Yes, he said. And whatever else you decide to give me after that, I'll consider a bonus. Her cheeks reddened. He didn't look away. Her heart felt like it was beating in every part of her body at once. Okay, she whispered. I won't quit. Relief washed through him so strongly he almost had to loosen his tie, even though he wasn't wearing one. Good, he murmured. That's a start. They stayed like that, just breathing, letting the weight of what had just been said settle around them. Then a quiet sound came from the bedroom. A soft groan, a cough. Melissa shot up. My dad. She rushed toward the door. Luigi followed more slowly, stopping at the threshold. Her father shifted on the bed, eyes fluttering open. Hey, Melissa said gently, sitting on the edge of the bed. You scared me. Her father blinked, taking a few seconds to focus. I'm fine, he rasped. You worry too much. That's my job, she said, trying to keep her voice light. He glanced past her, noticing Luigi in the doorway. And who's this? He asked, voice tired but curious. You finally brought home that important boss you always talk about? Melissa froze. Dad? Luigi stepped inside, expression softening. Good evening, Mr. Davis, he said. I'm Luigi Conti. I work with your daughter. Her dad studied him. Work with, huh? Or make her work too hard? Melissa groaned. Dad, please. Luigi actually smiled. Both, he admitted, but I'm learning to balance it. Mr. Davis's brows rose slightly, as if impressed that he got a straightforward answer. Are you the one driving her crazy? He asked. Melissa covered her face with her hands. Oh my God. Till Luigi's eyes warmed. I might be, he said, but I'm also the one who's going to make sure you get the best possible care. Mr. Davis's gaze sharpened. You know? Melissa nodded. I told him. And he's still here? Her dad asked. Yes, Luigi answered before she could. I'm not going anywhere. The older man looked between them, something like understanding dawning in his tired eyes. Then I don't need to worry tonight, he said quietly. He slowly reached for Melissa's hand with one of his, and with the other, he gestured toward Luigi. You two, figure it out, he murmured. Just don't let her carry the world alone anymore. She got that from me, and it nearly broke me. I don't want it to break her. The lump in Melissa's throat was too big to swallow. Luigi stepped closer, his voice low and sincere. I won't, he said. You have my word. Her father nodded, then closed his eyes again, drifting back toward sleep. Melissa stayed a moment longer, brushing a hand over her father's arm. Then she walked back into the hallway, closing the door most of the way. She leaned against the wall, exhaling. Luigi moved closer, stopping right in front of her. You okay? He asked. No, she said honestly, but I'm better than I was an hour ago. He nodded. She looked up at him, her eyes shiny but calm now. If you help with the surgery, she said slowly, and if I stay at the company, and if we try to see where this goes. Her voice trembled at the last part. What happens if everything falls apart? What if I'm not strong enough? What if you regret getting involved with someone whose life is this complicated? He leaned in, one hand bracing on the wall next to her head, the other hovering near her waist but not touching yet. I'm not afraid of complicated, he murmured. I'm afraid of you walking away before we even try. Her pulse thundered. You shouldn't say things like that, she whispered. Why not? Because it makes it very hard to protect myself. Maybe, he said quietly, it's time you stop trying to protect yourself from me. His hand finally settled on her waist, gentle but sure. She didn't push him away. Her voice came out barely audible. If I fall in love with you, Luigi, there's no going back. You already did, he said softly. You just haven't given yourself permission to admit it. Her heart stuttered. Their faces were so close now she could feel his breath on her lips. Tell me to leave, he whispered. Tell me you don't want this. Tell me you don't want me. She opened her mouth. No sound came out. Instead, the tiniest, rawest truth slipped past her defenses. I don't want you to leave, she breathed. Ever. It was all he needed. He closed the last inch between them and kissed her. Slowly, deeply, carefully. Not a rushed, desperate kiss, but a promise. Warm, steady, patient. The kind of kiss that said, I'm here, I'm staying. You're safe now. Her hand slid up his chest, holding on like she had finally found something solid. His fingers tightened at her waist, pulling her just enough closer that every line of their bodies aligned, but still gentle, still controlled. There was no chaos, just them. When they finally pulled back, breath unsteady, her forehead rested lightly against his. Now what? She whispered. He smiled against her skin. Now, he said. I talk to Andrew tomorrow. We make a plan. We handle the surgery. You don't send that email. You come back to the office. We pretend to be normal around everyone else. And when we're alone? She asked, voice small. His answer was simple. When we're alone. We stop pretending. Her cheeks flushed. And if everything goes wrong? She asked. He brushed a kiss against her forehead. Then we face it together, he said. No more secrets, no more running. She let out a slow breath, letting his words sink all the way in. For the first time in a long time, the fear in her chest was joined by something else. Hope. She nodded once. Okay, she whispered. We do it your way. He smiled. Our way, he corrected. She smiled back. And yet, as his phone buzzed quietly in his pocket, a message from his head of security about a complication at the office, one thought slipped into his mind, dark and stubborn. Could he really keep his dangerous world from touching hers? Or no matter how careful he was, would loving her pull her into a life she never asked for? He didn't have the answer yet. But tomorrow, he was going to find out. When Luigi's phone buzzed in his pocket, he didn't look at it right away. Melissa was still leaning against him, her breath warm against his collarbone, her fingers resting lightly on his shirt as though she'd only now realized she was allowed to touch him. She whispered, I don't want this moment to end. Then it won't, he murmured, brushing a hand along her jaw. We'll build 100 more like it. Her eyes softened. There was something in her expression, trust, finally trust, that made his chest ache in the best way. The phone buzzed again. He sighed. I have to check it. She nodded, stepping back only enough to let him reach into his pocket. He glanced at the screen, tension forming instantly. A message from Marco, his head of security. Need to update you ASAP. Tight timeline for surgical approval. Call me. He exhaled, relieved it wasn't danger-related, then looked at Melissa, who was studying him carefully. Bad? She asked. No, he said. Just the real world reminding us it exists. Her half-smile was tired but genuine. It always does. He cupped her cheek again, grounding her. I'll handle it. You focus on your dad tonight. She nodded, but she didn't let go of his hand. The next morning, Luigi arrived at the office earlier than usual. Not because he needed to, but because for the first time, he wanted to be there before she walked in. He wanted to see her step into his world not as someone hiding, not as someone afraid of disappointing him, but as someone walking toward him. At 8:59 a.m., she did. Wearing soft beige pants, a cream blouse tucked neatly at the waist, and a quiet confidence that hadn't been there the week before. He stood. Morning, he said, unable to stop the warmth from seeping into his voice. Morning, she replied, eyes flicking to his, soft and sweet. She walked to her desk, opened her tablet, organized her files like always. But this time, every movement hit him differently. Because this time, she wasn't pretending she didn't feel the pull between them. He stepped out of his office a minute later. Melissa. She looked up. We're meeting Dr. Cole at noon. Her expression shifted, fear, gratitude, nervous tension blending together. Okay, she whispered. And tonight, he added, I'm taking you to dinner. Her cheeks pinked. Is that a date? Yes, he said. And before you ask, no, you can't decline. She bit her lip, smiling. I wasn't planning to. He walked back into his office, but his chest felt lighter than it had in months. At noon, they met Andrew in a private consultation room at the clinic. Andrew entered with a patient chart in hand and a softness in his expression reserved only for Melissa. "Good to see you both," he said. Luigi extended his hand first. "Doctor?" Andrew shook it, professional but observant. "You said you wanted full details." "Yes," Luigi replied. "No filtering, no minimizing. We want everything." Melissa sat beside him, taking a quiet breath. Andrew pulled up the charts on a screen. "Your father qualifies for surgery," he said, "but it needs to happen within the next 6 weeks." Melissa nodded, holding the edge of her chair. Andrew continued, "Insurance will cover some, but not nearly enough. Hospital fees, surgeon fees, post-op care, it's a lot, but treatable. And if the surgery goes well, he has a strong chance of a good recovery." Her throat tightened. "Thank God." Luigi squeezed her hand under the table, unseen but deeply felt. Andrew's eyes flickered to their hands for one split second, but he kept going. "The cost is the biggest issue," he said carefully, "but manageable with outside support." Melissa began. "Andrew, I can't ask." "You're not asking me," he said gently, "and you're not asking him." Her gaze lowered. She didn't want to ask anyone. Luigi spoke before the weight could crush her. "I'm covering it." Andrew blinked. "Mr. Conti, this isn't a negotiation," Luigi said calmly. "Schedule the surgery. Tell me the deadlines for payments. I'll handle the rest." Andrew nodded slowly. "I thought you might say that." Melissa's eyes filled instantly. "Luigi," she whispered. "I don't know how to." "You don't have to," he said softly. "You don't owe me anything except honesty." She wiped a tear, inhaled shakily, and looked between them. Andrew cleared his throat. "I'm glad she has people looking out for her." There was no jealousy in his tone now, only a quiet understanding. Maybe he realized he had been holding on to a version of Melissa that wasn't his to hold anymore. After discussing logistics, medication, and next steps, they stood to leave. Andrew touched Melissa's arm lightly, a final gesture of support. "If you ever need anything," he said gently, "I'm still here." She smiled softly. "I know." But when she turned toward the hallway, she walked beside Luigi. Not behind him, not away from him, beside him. And Andrew saw it. He gave a small, sad smile and let her go. Luigi picked her up at 7 that evening. She wore a simple black dress, nothing too flashy, nothing extravagant, but on her it felt breathtaking. "You look," he started, then gave up trying to find a word that didn't sound ridiculous. She laughed softly. "You look beautiful too," she said, teasing. He huffed. "That's not how that word works." "It works tonight," she replied. Dinner wasn't fancy. He didn't take her to a penthouse restaurant or a place with chandeliers. He chose a warm Italian restaurant tucked between 2 old brick buildings where candles glowed on every table and the walls smelled like basil and wine. She relaxed almost immediately. "Why here?" she asked, sipping her water. "Because you don't need luxury tonight," he said. "You need comfort." Her eyes softened. They talked, really talked, for the first time without walls or guarded tones. She told him about her childhood, about her mother, whom she lost too early, about her brother's struggles, about how she worked through college while caring for her dad. He told her things he had never told anyone except family, about responsibility, about expectations, about the loneliness of being powerful, about what it felt like to see her walk into his office for the first time and feel something crack open inside him. Her hand found his on the table halfway through dessert, and stayed there. No hesitation, no fear, just warmth. When they stepped outside after dinner, the night was cool, a soft wind brushing her hair over her shoulders. "You cold?" he asked. "A little," she admitted. He unbuttoned his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. She pulled it close, inhaling the scent of him. Cedar, smoke, something warm. They walked slowly, hand in hand. "Luigi," she said quietly. You said something earlier, that you love me. He looked at her, eyes steady. I meant it. Her breath trembled. I'm scared, she whispered. So am I, he said. But wanting you is stronger. She looked up at him, eyes shining under the streetlights. I think, her voice wavered, I think I'm falling in love with you too. He exhaled like she'd just placed something precious into his hands. Then fall, he whispered, brushing his thumb along her cheek. I'm right here. He leaned down and kissed her, this time not gentle like before, but fuller, deeper, a mix of relief and desire and something that tasted like a future. She melted into him, arms sliding around his neck, and for the first time in a long, long time, neither of them felt afraid of the world, just of losing each other. Her father's surgery was scheduled. Luigi took care of every detail quietly, respectfully, never once making her feel small. He met her brother, helped organize transportation, spoke to Andrew and the hospital board without fanfare. Melissa told him she loved him 2 nights before the surgery. She didn't whisper it. She didn't hide it. She said it leaning against his chest on his sofa, with his arms around her. And he kissed her like he'd been waiting his whole life to hear it. The morning of the surgery, she was terrified. He held her hand through every minute of waiting. When the doctor came out and said the words, it was a success. She collapsed into Luigi's arms, sobbing with relief. He held her tighter than ever. Her father recovered well. Her brother got a better job. Melissa never sent the resignation email. Luigi moved her desk. Not out of favoritismo, but because he wanted her closer. She teased him about needing her in eyesight. He didn't deny it. They fell into a rhythm, romantic, steady, passionate, supportive. She kept working as his assistant, but with clear boundaries. Work was work, and love was love. He respected it, adored her. One night, months later, she asked him, Do you ever regret getting involved with me? He kissed her shoulder and murmured, Not even for a second. He had loved many things in his life, power, control, ambition, but nothing compared to the way he loved her. Melissa had always been the heartbeat he didn't know he was missing, and the life they built together became the proof that even in the dangerous world he lived in, love could still be the safest place of all. Before you go, I'd love to ask you for a small favor. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me more than you can imagine and keeps these videos coming. The link is right below the video, and if you're watching on TV, just point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen. With this simple gesture, you support a creator like me in the most powerful way. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.